Right, here we go then, guys. Just a quick video, just a recap as to what's been going on today with the Bitcoin price. So our target, personally, my target, should I say, was to try and get into this blue box territory here. And if we could break above it, then I would create a long, especially if we could close, or mainly if my signal would be if we were to close above the descending trend, but more importantly, above the blue box area. That would be a decent long position, because that would basically mean that we've broken out of the descending trend. Because we've broken down here, it was and we've not even come up to test this blue box. It's showing that Bitcoin's weaker than we thought it was, because the first time we broke down there, that's fine. We had a huge fall, and that was a huge one. Came back up here. You could call this a bounce, really. People buying the dip, bouncing back up. It came straight back down. And when we came back up here, we tested it, came straight back down. Now it looks like, you know, people are getting a little bit too excited, and we couldn't make it, and it's come straight back down. Another important thing to note on this, actually, is that the green exponential, the 50 exponential, has really shown us some pretty important things. Now, I was watching this on the 5-minute chart when I had a bit of time free today, and I'll just show you how everything looks with the green. Alright, so the green was, at this point, when we came above the green was being tested. This is just a 5-minute chart, by the way, being tested a few times, and it was generally being quite well respected, actually. And we had a nice setup of all our moving averages all displayed out like a colourful rainbow here, top to bottom, perfectly aligned, basically showing the lowest time frames to the highest time frames, exponential and simple moving averages. They're all there. Then what happened was I noticed for the first time that we had a breach here of the green, and we started to see crosses take place here, and things were getting a little messy, a bit choppy. Then we had this huge spike down here. Things not looking too great. We tried to recover and got a little bit above, and again, look, you can see how important the green is as a matter of support. But then what inevitably will happen when it's being tested so deeply like this, it's essentially not being tested, it's being broken. And so when we look a bit closer, I mean, we had such a big fall, I mean, it's difficult to pinpoint it exactly, but when we look a bit closer, we saw more breaches take place, and then when we finally do breach it, that's when we really fall. And again, this is a 5-minute chart, so my first sort of worry was when we breached it here, and I was like, well, that's very big. I think the inevitable is coming. The reason I'm saying this is that the green 50 exponential is it's a moving average that the Bitcoin likes to respect one way or another, and if it doesn't get respected, Bitcoin gets taught a lesson. So we'll have a little look at what's been going on with that green exponential here. So when we trade beneath it, we fall beneath it, we stay beneath it, and it's difficult to get above it. So you can see, this is a sort of parabolic move. I mean, all this over here is, you can disregard that. But when we're trying to struggle for price, what happens here? We bounce here, and we found a resistance on it here. We did break above it for a little bit. We were rejected on this guy here, the 21-day close, also quite an important one, but not as important as the 50 in my book. We came back down beneath it, got stuck beneath it, and it turns to resistance. When we finally break above it and we respect it, it's always a good move. It also had a golden cross on it here. Came back down here at this point, and you can see it turned to support, and we messed around on it as a support, but it was being breached, and eventually it collapsed under the weight. Couldn't take it, stayed underneath it. Tried to get it back above it, and you see we poked above it here, made a big move, but eventually when we come back down beneath it, big move. Here we got resistance on it, back down again. Resistance on it, bit of a spike, but eventually come back down, and again resistance on it here, and come back down. Now, we're making gradual little steps. Like I say, this is the sort of thing that really would be a somewhat healthy move. We don't want to see huge stuff all the time. I see stuff like this. So it came back up, rejected from it, and finally broke above it. And then we made our moves that we've been making these last couple of days, and then back down. And where do we fall? And where do we get support from? Our friend, the green 50 exponential, as always. Now, it hasn't been breached, which is good for the moment. That's one hell of a fall we've had there. You know, that's a $500 move, more than that. So what we're looking to see now over the next 24 hours is how we respect this green 50 exponential. If it gets breached with wicks spiking beneath it, you know, I would expect us to continue with this move. And in all fairness, I would actually I would expect this to continue now, to go back down again. Perhaps not straight away. Probably more like more like. See if we can find an example of this. Perhaps maybe something a little more like this. Perhaps maybe dancing around on it, spiking beneath it, spiking above it, because we do have a resistance above us again here of 10,600, 10,800. We could come back into those territories again, or we could try and test them again, but we'll be moving between the green exponential and that at best. We're not going to be making much bigger moves than that to test this box. We're more than likely going to be spiking around this little area, and if we find too many wicks that go beneath this green exponential, it's back down again, and it's back down to 10,000, and then if it's back down to 10,000, it's back into the 9,000s. If it's back into the 9,000s, it's likely to go back to the low 9,000s. This is all a long way off, but I know this move has only just happened now. But that's my take on the situation. We can look at indicators if you like. I mean, we've got crosses here on the MACD. We're stabbing straight down on the RSI. But just simply going on the moving averages, you know, it's not looking great. And one thing that was, you know, could have happened, and it could still happen, but it's looking less likely now, is that this would have formed a 4-hourly golden cross. And it's as if somebody out there knew that was going to happen and didn't want it to happen, and they've brought us back down just in the nick of time as this was about to form, and it would have formed actually within about 8 hours time. If this move hadn't taken place, it would have actually formed, and usually that has some kind of relevance to it, and they've prevented that from happening now. And if we continue on our way back down to this area and below, this is not going to be happening for a little while actually. Everything gets reversed, so don't worry if you're sort of losing money or whatever right now. And you know, as long as you're not margin trading or anything silly like that, you know, it will turn around one day. But for the moment, this descending trend is proving to be very strong. This consolidation pattern is still playing out, and let's respect the green 50 exponential and keep a close eye on this. Yeah, thanks for watching, and have a nice evening.